Hello, girlies and friends, and welcome back to the Fufu Forum. Today, I'm going to talk about something that has been going on in my head since last night. So, recently, I ripped the cover off of my phone, right? So, you know, your little protective cover, took that straight out. My little outer box is gone, it's no longer here. RIP. However, underneath it, that day, I don't know where I was traveling to, but I needed a protection sleeve for my phone because I drop my phone all the time. Like, my phone already has a crack on the protective screen. It's literally that bad. So I went and I got a new screen. It was clear because that's the only thing that they had for my phone because it's a little bit older. Judge yourself. So I realized that, oh man, you know, now everyone is gonna be able to see that my phone is blush pink. Funny enough, the question I keep getting asked still is that a new phone? And I'm like, no, it's not a new phone. It's the same phone I've had for a couple years. I just always have a green cover on top of it. And they're like, oh, I didn't think you were a pink girl. I was like, oh. And the truth is, I don't stand as a pink girl. Honestly, pink has been a color that I tend to step away from. And so this kind of propelled me to think about how I spent my whole youth trying so hard not to be a pink girly. I was assured that I was the complete opposite. And I know you're thinking, oh, this girl was a blue girly, but no. I was actually a burgundy girly. Now hear me out. You may think blue is the opposite of the pink girly, but the truth is, blue isn't an opposite. Blue becomes a completely different entity. And I'll get there. So how and why do I consider myself a burgundy girly? Consider this. You go into Pinterest, you type in intellectual girl, dark academia, beauty. Do you know what you get? Burgundy, you sure do. You would think you would get a little purple, but no, you get burgundy. You get burgundy, you get dark sweaters, you get green, you get moss green, you get navy, but you don't get hot pink. You don't get hot pink. Hot pink for us was reserved for the Lotties. You guys know Lottie? Lottie is Princess Tiana's best friend in The Princess and the Frog. It's for princesses like Aurora, our Sleeping Beauty. It's for strawberry shortcake and all the girls that fit into that kind of box. And it just makes me think about how society even uses color to structure how we perform our roles within society, right? These given roles that we have, you're a girl or you're a boy, right? Because these aren't things that we're born with. This is something that we learn, right? You may be born a male or a female, but you're not born a boy or a girl. And how do we know that? How do we get to this idea that, you know, gender is a structure, whatever? I'm not even going to go too deep into that, but I'll let you know that we learned this from studying other societies outside of our own, right? Indigenous cultures. And we find that this thing is not innate to us being human beings. We find that other cultures perform society a bit differently. And the way we perform society, right? Those people who are, you know, either from a colonized country or just living in the West, is that we perform in this dichotomy. You're either a boy or a girl. And when you're a girl, you're also limited to this range. Especially as a little black girl, you're either a pink girly or a burgundy girly. And you guys are like, girl, you're reaching. You could definitely be a blue girly. You know what y'all call a blue girly? Y'all call her a tomboy. Y'all call her almost being a boy. She's othered. So she doesn't really fit into this okay being a girl category. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, my issue with this being a burgundy girl is that this trope has so many issues. And even still today, when you're on Pinterest and you type in dark academia girly aesthetic or beauty aesthetic or intellectual aesthetic, you know what you get? Brunette, white, sweater, books, library. You also get quotes that say they want to be disgustingly educated, or they're not like other girls and they prioritize their books. And it's so interesting because I think a problem we forget that this trope brings in is the idea of race. And I know everybody hates to bring this in or drag this in, but I think we don't acknowledge enough that how we perform being a girl is just how white people who taught us how to perform being a girl knew what it was like to perform being a girl. They took that from their society and said, this is how you guys should do it, right? Because most of those societies weren't doing it like that before. How do we know? Because we have research based on this, right? So just know that how we perform, what we know today, is based off of European society, right? We got that? Cool. That being said, we're in what year? What year are we in? 2025. A little bit more than halfway through it. And you're telling me when you guys create these little mood boards, y'all still can only find white intellectuals? And even y'all black girls or y'all girls of color gotta have straight pin hair with a little bump on the bottom or some crazy bangs. They never have a fro. They never have locks. They never have anything else that can make them look slightly different than the brunette with pale skin and blush on their cheeks. And it's like, dang, it makes me question, do I really fit into this idea of the beauty intellectual? I already am struggling with the fact that I'm black, right? But then I also struggle with the idea that comes in with sexism. Yeah, it's like, why is it that even within your depiction of this from the European standard, why is it that this girl can only be the brunette and she can't like being the popular girl? She can't like cheerleading. Why does she have to only like her books? Why can't she be multifaceted? Why is it there an othering, right? But it also brings in this idea that academia, one, you have to fit into a particular box to be this intellectual beauty. And we also see that this isn't true, because even in academia, the people who become popular faces of academia, popular faces of big nonprofits, are the more aesthetically pleasing, palatable people. So it's also just not a truth of how academia works. And we want to believe that academia strips away all those other things shouldn't matter, but they do. And you guys reinforce that idea by creating these pin boards of girls with brunette hair. And it's not just Pinterest. It's our different forms of media. It's our books. It's Hermione. It's all these girls that come to our head when we think of the intellect. And it's kind of depressing, because I know that no matter how hard I read, the perception of me will never align to that. One, I can never be white. But two, I can never really be that type of fitting person, because that's not who you imagine. Your imagination is limited to that trope. And this leads to my final point, that they miss the whole point of being an intellect. Because once we become intellects, we figure out that a lot of girls, because they are people, truly just want the same things all throughout. You know, and the first one is to be loved, just like any other human being. I think another big one is, to be considered. And this one is really big because I find that often the opinions of women are tossed to the side within a relationship, within a larger party. And finally, I think a big one for me in particular is for someone to value your presence, and that only, without any contribution, without speaking on your beauty, without thinking or speaking about what you can contribute. Someone solely valuing you on you being there, just your presence. That type of acknowledgement, I think, just puts a little bow tie on the experience of girlhood, but also womanhood. And, you know, girlhood is something that will never escape me. And I know that there's a reason why I've fallen in love with the burgundy girl. But as I've gotten older, I've kind of reached out to the hot pink girl a little bit too. And I've decided that, you know what, I don't have to limit myself to just being an academic trope. I can also be all those extra fun things because I'm multifaceted. And I think we do a disservice to each other when we don't allow our girls to see all that they can be. And I just really hope that you guys aren't falling or feeling this anyway, because I was. If you like any of these short conversational pieces about my little thoughts and things in my day that kind of lead to this, please, please, please like and subscribe. I'm really trying to build communities of girlies who explore their own space and explore womanhood and sisterhood while we're getting older. So join me.